The disappearance of Supreme Demon King Dabura over 2 centuries ago had been a mixed bag for the inhabitants of the first demon world. On one hand, it had thrown the realm into a long period of stagnation. Despite what most of the inhabitants of the other demon worlds thought about Dabura, the Vice King did not have full control over the domain. Not through lack of trying, mind you. Usurping the system was very hard due to a lot of the magic on the top being life-linked to the current monarch. No link with Goma, no dice. So even though Dabura was travelling around with the wizard Barbady in the other realms doing Rimus only knows what, a fact only known by the most influential of the elites of the First World, he still was the rightful ruler, he was still alive, and the realm would have answered to him the moment he stepped back in the realm. Sure, the gendarmerie did answer to the Vice King, but a lot of the things, including the treasury, remained sealed off. Also, there was always a threat of Barbady travelling here and becoming the Demon Realm's new master himself, something dreaded by all of the inhabitants that were aware of this predicament. Almost 300 years of constant stress felt very unhealthy, and although the margin perspective of time was very different to a mortal one's, it was still a considerable amount of time to be worrying about such matters. On the other hand though, certain ambitious individuals could improve their position during Dabura's absence since, no supervision. Take Degasu for example. Back then, he was merely an assistant of the Vice King, whose most notable trait was being one of the last 2 Glins still remaining within the realm, certainly having an element of power. Nowadays, he was practically the number 2 of the entire realm. Obviously, not many Margin would respect his position, and a lot of the elites still thought that pushing him around, but Degasu knew that one day they would regret their life choices treating him that way. You see, he always had a rather simplistic view of the world, and the basis of this view could only be summarized by him having a very close link to the top. Such ambition, he thought, was good and healthy. While a lot of his kin had been tasked with looking after mortal realms, Degasu knew that the true duty that every Glin should feel was to the demon realm alone. Look inward. It is their defiance that had caused the destruction of the trees, this sudden softness for the mortals who, let's be real, did not deserve the attention and were third-class citizens of the multiverse at best. The third demon world would look too good for them. Other Glin may have been giving up on the original demon realm, but not Degasu. He knew that by climbing the ranks and outmaneuvering his rivals, he would eventually be able to make a true difference. Even now, outgrow both of his siblings. Arinsu at least was trying to do something respectable. Her technological prowess allowed them to keep a grip on the larger population of the demon realm, but Nahare? Oh, the very diminutive one? Let's just say that his weird fondness towards mortals was going to be his downfall, Degasu thought. He really fully believed that. He was patient too. After all, as a Glint, he had a lot of time on his hands. He was still relatively young, and already very close to the throne. The only thing that couldn't come sooner to him was respect. Yeah. Obviously, he accepted that Goma outranked him, of course, despite being both of them similar age and education. Still, he would be a fool not to admit that, where it came to magic, his shorter friend always outmatched him. And, credit where credit is due, Goma never forgot about who was with him the entire time before he became the real deal. So, with a certain sense of reluctance, he accepted him being the boss. Especially that, and this might sound weird, the Vice King did not have the same drive that Degasu had. He had to be pushed to try and do anything around there. If not for his Glin roommate, he would have probably ended up as just yet another court wizard or something like that. Certainly not the Vice King. And if your friend's elevation could, let's say, improve your position as well, then what was the harm? If one day Dabura would cease to exist, then Degasu knew that he was certainly Goma's favourite for the potential role of his Vice King. Oh, well, okay, there was also Arinsu, but he knew all too well that his sister wasn't somebody that his boss trusted the most. Despite the great amount of respect he had for her, Degasu understood that. The irony of his relationship, though, with Goma was giving the Vice King ideas who he thought were his own. It was rather simple and took a lot of responsibility from him. After all, why not increase the taxes from the lower worlds? The first demon world was suffering in the absence of the king, so, well, they had to somehow make up for it. And what better way to do that? But this still had a certain downside. Goma had a way shorter fuse than Degusu did, which caused the interested parties to often use him as some sort of intermediary force. All of the work and none of the prestige. At least due to their long-lasting friendship, the Glint could more or less speak his mind to his boss. And he knew that a lot of the stuff he was going to say to him that day would not make him happy. So, before he entered his quarters, he, understandably, braced himself. When he entered the room, Goma was busy, completely stuffing himself with meats and fruits in an inelegant manner, and was clearly embarrassed when he was caught doing so.
Vegeta, you know you can knock. I could have been wearing no pants for all you knew. What do you want?
The short, Margin quickly regaining his stature, proclaimed to his assistant.
I'd rather not imagine that, sir. Forgive the intrusion, but I've gotten some rather worrying reports from the third demon world. I know you don't want to hear it, but I felt like you should know.
The Glint took off his pad to find all of the notes to decide.
Yes, the locals can be a little bit feisty. Big change. The King Dabura himself used to tell me that they were the most unruly bunch. Tell them to man up. We can't babysit every soldier who gets afraid of a couple of locals saying mean things to them.
While his words were showing otherwise, Degusu knew that Goma was a nervous wreck lately, and he most likely was stress-eating upon his arrival. No wonder having the duties of the absent king and none of the glory for it was clearly starting to get to him.
You see, the problem is that we have a wounded soldier and destroyed equipment on our hands, sir. One of our own got attacked on our own territory.
Degusu was slowly observing Goma's reaction, starting to really come to him.
Wait, in one of our towns? I can understand if a transport disappears in a desert, but, I mean, that's fair game, but we don't have enough guards to secure them from the bandits. But in the middle of a town? That's not good.
Goma bent a fork, trying to keep it together, but he was shuddering very, very slightly.
Apparently by a child and a young man. Said child was cloaked, so we couldn't get a proper look of his face.
Wait, a child? Oh, gods are so pathetic that they get defeated by children. Are you trying to make me die of embarrassment? Is our force in such bad shape that children are starting to beat them up?
Goma was losing his cool now. He looked like he was trying to hide away, but he couldn't find anywhere to hide, and he was clearly crashing out. Degusu, however, wasn't losing his cool. He already stressed out about this before he entered the room, so he was already over it.
Either our guards are in bad shape or this child was very strong, sir.
Wait, like Planet Giga level strong?
Goma tried to unbind the fork and eat some more of his stress lunch.
Damn you, poverty! Why did you have to steal our king? Damn you, Dabura, for falling under his spell like a simpleton! You should have known better!
I think we should treat the rumor more seriously.
Goma rolled his eyes, as if they had had this conversation time and time before, for various topics.
Nothing was found. Could have been a stray meteor for all you know, he said in denial.
There were traces of something in there, and some of the lowborn are talking about this whole prophecy. We can have an alien presence in the realm, sir. You cannot ignore this anymore.
Degusu kept pushing. If there were an intruder within their territory, the Vice King needed to acknowledge it.
Prophecy, smophecy,
Goma shouted, trying to regain the stature.
The lowborn are stupid, and will cling to any stupid story to have some stupid thing to believe in stupidly. Doesn't mean that it is real. Stupid.
I have warned you about this before. As long as they believe in it, it could be dangerous for our position. It does not matter if it's real or not. If it's going to radicalize them, this is still going to be a problem.
Goma said nothing, albeit for a moment, then turned his head to Degusu.
Then, what do we do?
He said in a dry and defeated tone, and to his surprise, Degusu gave him a rather mischievous smile. This was unusual.
Easy, as you said. The lowborn have a tendency to believe in silly stories, so Why don't we come up with a silly story of our own? What do you have in mind exactly? Koma's curiosity was beginning to perk up. Oh, a little joke? He always liked jokes. Oh, that's simple. Knowing from my own experience, it's much easier to make people hate an alien instead of loving an alien. We'll just turn the story on its head. Degisu then cackled, and very, very quickly, Goma's fish lips twisted into a weird smile of its own. Auntie had left Mimu just outside of the canyon, so nobody would see her fly away. She explained to the monkey boy that he should not share this story with his peers, mostly because they were so constantly worried about him it would only bring forth more worry. She promised that she would not only take Goliro to safety, but also that she would visit him in the following week, so he can do more good for the inhabitants of the demon realm. This wasn't a one-time offer. And while the suggestion of keeping everything secret would have been seen as suspicious if asked beforehand, having witnessed what he could actually do, he understood it completely. The night was already lasting for some time, but he could still hear laughter and noises from all the stuff happening at the feast. It seems that nobody had noticed his absence. As he snuck up inside the castle, he came across an entity with pink skin and dark blue fur and beady eyes.
Where were you? I've been trying to find you for hours,
he said flatly. It was Hibis, his best friend. It's not that Mumu didn't like the guy, but he had a weird feeling that once he appeared in his father's life, Hibis got an order of becoming his friend, which he had reluctantly accepted.
Oh, I was just looking at the night sky, you know? Nothing wrong.
The monkey boy tried his best to keep his cool, but failed.
Well, you know how much I like it.
He looked nervously at the corridor.
No, you weren't. And why did you need spiritedly looking at the moon? Did you sneak out to impress some girls without me? How cruel.
Hibis's deadpan accusations were rather unnerving for Mimu, as he tried to keep his face straight.
No, I would have told you if that were the case, honestly. I know how much you like it.
Fine, he shrugged. Keep your secrets. I don't care.
There are no
And before Mimu could finish his sentence, someone opened the door to the banquet hall, and when King Kadan noticed them, he laughed out loud jovially, absolutely unknowing of what had happened.
Ah, look who it is! Come in, boys, come in! Celebrate with us!
The monkey boy had a feeling that his dad might have had one too many beers, as he was very jovial. But he walked in anyway, much to everyone's delight, as they applauded his arrival. Goody, 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 the boy is here! He was well liked in the Kadan castle, but at times he felt like they were treating him more like a curiosity rather than a full member of the family. To be nice to King Kadan.
I propose a toast to my son, the best fighter in the castle.
King Kadan raised his massive chalice.
The best fighter who never had a real fight, mind you.
Mimu rolls his eyes.
Hey, those bruises you gave me are very real, boy. I still remember those.
One of the older soldiers grasped his arm gently and patted him on the back, bursting out in a drunken laughter of their own.
Thanks,
he sighed, only to then be embraced by the massive figure of his father, who affectionately ruffled his already crazy hair.
Soon, Nemo, soon, I promise. You'll be leading an action squad before you know it. You'll be able to kick some of those bastards. Here, we want to keep our chosen boy safe.
One of the older soldiers raised his tankard and immediately became the source of a lot of angry glares, as if he had said something that he really shouldn't have said.
Chosen? What do you mean by that?
Mimu started to talk, and everyone looked a little bit frantic at that.
Don't listen. People have been talking a lot today, son. It's just we've had so many supplies that, we can have a little fun. We're rich, we're abundant. You're my chosen son, because I chose to raise you. But you are just like my own, remember that. You are Pansy's little brother. I love you as if you were really my own.
I know, Dad. I know.
Mimu pretended to be convinced by this, but just only tired. But deep down, he knew that they were in fact hiding something from him. This was not the best feeling in the world. Suddenly, Pearl burst into the hall, and they were very unlike their usual peppy self.
Hi, King! Sorry for the interruption, but I have some dire news!
They said in a single breath.
Pearl! I didn't ever expect you to become the party pooper. What's going on?
Kadan tried to focus his gaze, clearly unhappy that his celebration had been interrupted by such an absolute party pooper.
The gendarmerie pushed the town very badly today. They're now ravaging it completely. Our contacts have had to evacuate. Otherwise, they might get linked to us, and we cannot have that. We are very tenuously linked to the First World, and we cannot lose it.
Oh, they got confident. Damn it! I have to write an official complaint to the Vice King then, once they safely evacuated. What caused them to suddenly go hard on all of those poor people?
Apparently, someone attacked one of theirs. The townsfolk fought back,
Pearl explained. Oh. Kadan covered his face with a massive palm and sighed loudly. You see, son, he said to Mimu, that's why you leave the fight to the real warriors. You cannot taunt the lion if you don't have any means of fighting back afterward. Now, thanks to them, we all have a problem.
All right, but were they just supposed to take it if the gendarmerie were pushing them?
Mimu protested slightly, but trying to remain like, I have nothing to do with it, which then caused a couple of heads to turn. I mean, look, things can be hard, but at the same time, you have to know when to pick your battles. They should wait for us to do something. We have contacts there, and now those contacts are compromised.
Maybe we weren't doing enough,
Mimu said, somewhat defiantly, starting to regain some composure. Kadan's expression changed to being quite a stern one. You will be allowed to make such comments once you join us and see how hard it is to fight them off for real. Ooh dear, that's not the jovial man anymore. The monkey boy really then started to respond in his own way, growling angrily, freeing himself from his father's embrace.
I can't, because you don't let me. And clearly, there's a reason for it. But you don't tell me. You don't want to tell me. And now you celebrate some pretend victory and get angry at people for what? Standing up for themselves?
Mimu was starting to really get raged. He rarely argued with his father, but he had had enough right now. Young man, you go to your chambers this instant. You are grounded for the rest of the day.
I'm grounded for life,
Mimu said angrily and left the banquet hall, leaving everyone utterly embarrassed. What is with him today? He's usually a sweet kid, said one of the soldiers. I think mortals grow up faster. He might be in his rebellious phase for all we know, answered another one with an expression of an expert, who clearly wasn't an expert. King Kadan was looking in the direction where his son had left, with much sadness. Most of this sadness was caused by the fact that deep down, he knew that Mimu was not entirely wrong. Soon, he thought, soon you will be old enough to know and prepare for what he must do. Then he will understand, hopefully. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now.